everyone, it's Kathy Zilski for Simon Says Stamp, and today I'm going to share 3 card projects that I created using the Bold Blooms card kit from Simon Says Stamp and Gina K Designs. Let's get started with card 1. Off camera, I used the die plate and cut out 2 layers that I glued together, and I saved all of the insides, and what I'm going to do is blend on color because I have an idea. Now, here's the thing. You can use cardstock, right, and cut out all of these insides, but I figured I've already got them cut out. I don't want them to go to waste, and so I'm going to color them in with the inks from the kit. Now, the inks from the kit create a perfect rainbow, basically. It's a really bold and bright rainbow, and so I'm going to work my way through and add all of these colors. One of the cool things about the kit is you get a brush for basically every color in the kit, although I just used the same red brush that I cleaned off to go with the Gina K Petunia color. Also exciting, these are new colors from Gina, and I'm using them for the first time, so that's kind of fun to have something in advance and, well, to be in the know. But I'm just building up my color on my grip mat. It holds my little die cuts nicely into place. And then once I get also, look at that cadet blue. That is a really cool color. Once I get all of these done, I'm going to set them aside, let them smooth out and dry back, which is pretty darn quick. And then I'm going to take my liquid glue. You get a Connect Glue tube in the kit, and I'm adding it to the back of my 2-layered die cut here. Now, I always put my Connect Glue into these small squeeze bottles that are available from Simon Says Stamp and Gina K. It's just easier for me to have that little fine point for getting into all these small places. Then I'm going to glue it down right onto a USA2 note card. And now I'm going to come up with a pattern idea. Now here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to fill in the whole thing. You don't even have to use all the colors. So I decided to limit my colors going from the petunia all the way through to the yellow marigold, and then skipping some of the spaces, which I think is a really cool graphic technique. Plus, because I stacked my 2 cover plate dies, it does give it a little more dimension, and then you can press your colorful piece right down into the die plate. So it's a little bit recessed, and I think that's a really cool look. Again, you could do this in any sort of design you like, but I thought the 2 little angles were very cute, and I like how this is coming together. There's a lot you can do with this die plate. Next, I'm going to stamp my greeting, and I'm just going to do this in black ink. You get a really nice black dye ink in the kit from Simon Says Stamp, and this is going to give me a nice, bold greeting that's really going to pop against the colorful little inlays, and who doesn't love a good, solid black and white greeting? I think it's me and everyone else. All right, getting that stamped. And then I am going to cut this out with the coordinating die. That's another cool thing about the kit. You get all the dies to cut out all of the greetings, and that makes card making so fun. Yeah, but look at that. Oh, looks so good. Now I cut a second layer using the die again because I want my greeting just to have a little heft to it. So I'm layering these together so that it feels more substantial. And to finish the card out, I used the sequins in the kit and popped them right into the centers, and I popped up the Hello Friend as well. So simple, but so fun. All right, let's move on to card 2. For this card, I stamped 3, well actually I stamped 3 total, but I'm only going to show you the ink blend for a few. I'm using the coordinating stencils that come and work with the Bold Blooms stamps. So here you have so many ways that you can use all of the different florals. For this card, I'm setting limits and just using one of the blooms, but I'm also going to blend my inks together here. So my petals have a little bit of the marigold and a little bit of the sherbet. I tapped off quite a bit of sherbet just because I wanted that to be a soft look. But here, you move on with the stencil, and the stencils can color in all of the florals in the stamp set. So that gives you lots of ways to quickly add color to your blooms. Here I'm going with the sherbet, a little bit darker in the center, And then I'm going to use the very tiny little circle to add one more layer of color, and that's going to be the petunia. These colors work together beautifully. They are analogous, which means they follow one another on the color wheel, and so they blend beautifully. Then I'm going to use the Kelly Green to just make simple blending on the leaves. Here I'm just going a little darker at the base and fading it up just a tiny bit so there's a little variation. You can do a lot with a single color. You could also mix in a little of the marigold here because those two follow one another on the color wheel, but I just wanted to keep my leaves simple. And there are little stencils for both leaves. They go in sort of opposite directions. Once you get that done, you're good to go. Also, having the smaller brushes is so nice for a multi-image layering stencil because you don't have to do as much masking because you're not really in danger of going off the edge or getting ink onto another part of another image. So this comes together so quickly. And I did a third set off camera as well. Now I cut them all out with the coordinating dies, and now I'm just going to build my blooms. And I'm stacking my leaves with a little liquid glue, and then I'm going to pop the blooms onto each one like that. Now, even though I'm not going to actually use all 3 blooms, you could take the leftover and pop it on an inside card too. I thought about that, but we're focusing on the fronts. Here I am going to diverge from the kit just a little because I'm going to stamp with some embossing ink and some gold powder. I'm going to use Gina's gold powder because I thought it would look really pretty with these warm colors on my blooms. And I do love a nicely embossed image. Sprinkle on the powder and tap it off. Then I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here. I was handling this paper quite a bit, so powder stuck, well, so it has to be cleaned up. I grabbed one of my little angled shaders to get all the excess off, and then once it looked clean, I went ahead and heated up my embossing tool for about 15 seconds, and then brought it to the paper and melted the powder. Isn't that pretty? It's just a lovely, shiny thank you. I cut that die out as well and stacked another layer behind it with the die. And then I'm just popping these little blooms corner to corner on a piece of black cardstock. I trimmed this cardstock to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. I really like that cut. And then I put thicker foam squares on the greeting so that that could sit up just a little bit above the blooms. I really like how this turned out. And I finished this off with the sequins from the kit. And here's the thing, even though they have slightly an iridescent look, they are fine to put up against black because then they become almost just more plain silver. And it just adds a little bit of shine to the card. And that card is done. For the third card, I wanted to do some pattern building. One thing I have learned from Gina K, if you have a lot of images and you want to build a pattern, start in the center. So that's what I did. I created some limits for my colors and I stamped my first image right in the center. Now, at first I thought I would do a straight up rainbow order, but I'm going to mix these colors up just a bit. And they're going to work great because, again, they are analogous colors and sit on the same warm side of the color wheel. All right, I'm taking 2 more blooms and going on opposite sides and then just taking the other colors. Now, I'm going to nix the apple and I'm just going to go with petunia, marigold, and the sherbet. Sometimes when you're creating, you don't have to try to get all the colors in. And I find that when I create limits, I get more creativity out of it. Now here I'm flipping the position of these blooms and doing the same thing, opposite color side. You could probably flip your cardstock to do this and make it more symmetrical, but I just wanted my pattern to feel a little more whimsical. So I just manually placed my stamps for this card. I'm taking a smaller bloom up top, and here I'm going to bring the sherbet back in, stamp that down, and then I'm going to clean this off and make sure too when you're cleaning something off that it is dry before you bring it to your paper. I'm going to repeat that at the bottom. Now I think this is a really cute pattern so far, and this is where I realized I'm not building a full panel. I'm going to bring in some leaves and just make that the finishing touch for the design. So we're taking the leaves, we're placing them around in places that make sense. Well, they make sense to me, but they do sort of just nestle in there. And the thing about this that's kind of cool, there's no die cutting of these images. You really can just build a custom pattern any way that you like. You can use the other colors in the kit as well to go with more of a cool tone. It's going to look great either way, but I thought I would stop at 3 leaves, and then I was like, you know what? No, keep going, Kath. You need 5. 5 is a magic number as well, so I added 2 more, and that is the finished panel. For my greeting, I'm stamping Happy Birthday, and I've been playing with this set a lot, so just know that the black ink in this kit, it will stain your stamps, but that doesn't hurt your stamps at all. Just means you got a high quality ink with a lot of pigment, and it creates beautiful stamped images. I'm using a die to cut this panel down just a little, and then I matted it on just a slightly larger die so that I can build my card. I popped that whole panel up, and here I have my foam squares to pop up Happy Birthday. And then I'll bring in the little sequin embellishments from the kit and just pop them right in the centers of the flowers. And I'm going with an even number here, but that's fine. Even though I love an odd number, and sometimes I think that's a better rule of design, if you have something that calls for an even number of sequins, here we have 3 blooms on top and 3 on the bottom, then you just add embellishments to the center, you have an even number, and you are good to go. But I love pattern building, and I hope if you get this class kit that you try the same as well. And that's my finished card projects for today. I hope this inspires you with more ideas for this fun kit. You can find more information over on the Simon Says Stamp blog, and I will see you back here with more card projects soon.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at SimonsSaysStamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.